Son, someday you'll get off this dairy farm, and when you do, you can see what words you can combine with your name for fun, whimsical shows.
You mean sort of like whimsical?
That's right. You've got the hang of it already.
I suppose I'm well informed.
Okay, keep on milking.
This should be illegal.
I said keep milking.
Well, if that's the will of God.
Can you legitimately shut up?
That's it. That'll be my show. Well legitimate. And I'll perform it to sold-out crowds at the Adelaide Fringe.
It'll be hilarious. Now seriously, finish milking this cow.
Well, that's live radio for you. It was clear audio, but something's gone wrong in the process there.
Amazing, because it made it feel like it was old-fashioned. I actually found it felt like found footage. It felt like the Blair Witch Project, and I was like, this is really good.
Blair Witch
timestamp this. I was like, did my dad and I actually have this conversation? This might feel like did Dad send this in? How have they found this?
Of course, we are joined by Wil Anderson right now here for the Adelaide Fringe. Now, you grew up on a dairy farm. That was the point of the intro for anyone that might have been a bit lost.
It's good though. I like that, because I genuinely, this whole show, I mean, and you didn't know this, but this whole show is about me growing up on the dairy farm.
Really?
I turned 50, my dad turned 80, and so for his 80th birthday, we got him a podcast, got him interviewed on a podcast about his life.
Yeah,
and
right.
in that interview, I found out something about my dad that I did not know, but the whole show ends up being about me revisiting growing up on a dairy farm and whether I fit in and milking cows. And so, honestly, you've nailed the most perfect intro of all time. I don't want you to feel bad about the audio quality. I think it added to it. I feel like this interview's got off to a flying start, I've got to be honest with you.
Fantastic.
I mean, speaking of the farm, Wil, I'm sure, you don't want to divulge too much into it, but surely, I mean, farm people see some pretty gross stuff. You see some pretty full-on things. Is there anything that's made into the shows, some weird sights you've seen from your days over there?
I mean, I don't know if I talk about many of the gross things, but I saw plenty of the gross things. This is probably the grossest moment ever. Because, it just depends on what your definition of gross is, right?
Yeah.
Because, on a farm, obviously you do things like artificial insemination. Do you know what artificial insemination is?
Yeah.
That's so people know what a bull and a cow might do together, but on a farm, because it's a big process, you can't wait for a bull to get to all the cows.
No.
So basically they just have an artificial. It was the original AI. That's what they used to call it, AI. It makes me feel weird every time the newsreader's there's been an explosion in AI. I'm like, that's
messy.
That's a real different image to what I'm thinking about.
Straight onto the phone to Dad.
And so what you have to do when you're doing that is you have to insert it into the cow, right?
Wow.
So I've inserted the AI into the cow. I've put my hand up a cow to pull out a calf. I've done all those sort of things, but I think the grossest one to people would be, so I used to milk cows before I would go into school in the morning. So from about age 14, 15 through to about age 17, I would get up in the morning and say I'd milk cows before I would go into work and go into school. And one morning it was so cold in East Gippsland where I grew up that I'd have to get up in the morning, I'd have to scrape the ice off the ute, off the window.
Yeah.
Then I would drive the ute, because it's the country, around to the dairy. And then I would help my dad milk the cows. Now, here's what you got to know about the cows. If the tail goes up at the back of the cow, because you're behind the cow when you're milking the cow.
Right.
So what you got to look for is the warning sign, which is the tail going up. Because if the tail goes up, that means that's a little warning,
get the hell out of there.
Get out of the way, because something's about to come out of the back of the cow. And one morning it was so cold that when something came out of the back of the cow, I just stood there and let it wash over me, because I would rather be warm and covered in cow excrement than I would be as cold as I was in the dairy that morning. So is that gross enough?
Life on the farm.
Late start to school that day. Wil, you've been around the Fringe circuit for a while now. Adelaide's almost like your second home, I guess you could say. If you were to give anybody any tips about Adelaide during Fringe, what shouldn't they do?
Oh, okay. So you're right about Adelaide being my second home particularly. So I've been coming here for nearly 30 years. Not right, but nearly 30 years. I tallied it up. Over 2 years of my entire life have been spent living here in Adelaide.
Yeah, right. Just from the trips.
It's huge.
Just from Fringe.
Jeez.
And so I spent 2 years in Adelaide during Mad March. So that's two hyper-powered years of Adelaide living as far as I'm concerned. I've had a lot of festivals in my time. I understand the city. I love the city. I love the fact that, here's what I would say, don't do during the Fringe. If you're a visitor to Adelaide during the Fringe, don't try to get a cup of coffee after 2 o'clock in the afternoon because that is the Adelaide way. It is a modern city in every other way, but at 2 o'clock there is the ceremonial shutting down of all the coffee machines in the city.
The big church bell swings. And everyone hides in their houses.
They just say, no more caffeine, guys. Yeah. It's time for us all.
It's time for a beer. We go to the pub at 2 o'clock.
I mean, that is what happens.
Yeah. That's why you're wondering why the streets are empty. Everyone's flocked to the pub.
It's like literally they just need to have a coffee machine at the pub for some of us who still want to get a flat white at 2:15 in the afternoon. So that would be my suggestion.
Hey, good one, Will. And also, we do want to ask, you've been killing it in stand-up for, like you said, about 30 years. You're also doing podcasting, you're doing TV. What's next for Wil Anderson? What's the big thing?
Next?
Yeah, what's next?
Actually, I can't tell you what it is, but I've done a project. So in my television career, I've never done a show that was somebody else's show. I've guested on things when I was starting out, but since then, in the last 20 or so years, I've always had my own shows. So I've never just been like a regular guest or done like a regular role on somebody else's show. Yeah. So I've shot this thing that is going to be coming out, I think, sometime this year. I wish I could say what it is. It'll be announced, I think, pretty soon. But for the first time in my entire comedy career, I am doing just like a role on somebody else's TV show for an entire series. And
awesome.
I've never done anything like that before. I'm super excited about it. It's so weird doing a project when none of it is your responsibility.
Yeah.
Like you just go in the morning, you do your job, you go home at night. No one asks you about how the day went. No one asks you about what should be in the edit. Nobody asks you. They just let you do your job and then go home, and then they don't bother you again until the next day. It's amazing.
Yeah, cannot wait to find out what this project is. Stay tuned for that announcement, Adelaide. But Will, just before we wrap things up, we want to play a bit of a game with you. In light of you calling a lot of things with your name, we've followed that trend. We're calling it Wikipedia.
Okay,
and we've gone online and we've found one true thing and we've come up with 2 lies.
Okay.
All you got to do...
So I've got... These are things that have been online. Are they about me?
Yeah, they're about you.
And so 1 is true and 2 are a lie.
2 are lies.
Okay.
We want you to pick which one are lies.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first thing that we may or may not have found on the internet, it says, Will worked on a dairy farm. True. There are rumours that he holds the record for Hayfield, Victoria's most cows milked in a minute.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. Hayfield, Victoria's most cows worked in a minute. Do you want an answer now?
Yeah, go on. And keep in mind, people do botch Wikipedia a little bit as well. Like, people can add random stuff.
I am keeping in mind that my photo on Wikipedia, at least for about half of every year, is Adam Hills. So people love to change it to Adam Hills. So the fact that any of these could be on the internet, but I would say if that one was on the internet, if there was any rumour that I was the fastest milker of cows in the local area, my dad would be a lot more proud of me. Even if it was just a rumour, he'd be spreading that one around. So I'm going to say that one's a lie.
Lie? That's it. It was a lie.
You're correct. The next one we found on the internet. He is the cousin of a former AFL player.
Well, I mean, that is true. I mean, that's a true fact. So you'd think
it's
it would
true.
be...
Hey, he's got it in the bag.
I mean, it'd be weird if that isn't on the internet. If it isn't, I can tell you I am the cousin of a former Stuart Anderson who played at the North Melbourne and Fremantle, played in the North Melbourne Premiership.
Yeah, 96.
He's my cousin. We were about the same age when we were playing footy when we were growing up. We actually played in a lot of rep teams, and for a while we were probably considered as being a similar sort of skilled footballer, and then there was just one season where I didn't get taller or more skillful and he became amazing.
Hey, he's got nothing on you. You are, of course, the record holder for the most cows milked in a minute. He doesn't have that
I'm not.
under
it's
his
a lie.
belt.
I just told you it's a lie.
We're starting to spread the rumour now.
Yeah. And the last one, of course, your full name is Wilson because your parents love basketball.
No, volleyball.
Volleyball?
Yeah, Wilson the volleyball. Yeah, they loved Castaway, the movie. And that's how I was conceived. It was based on my life.
Should we start that
my
rumour?
dad was on a desert island with a volleyball, and that's how I was conceived, and that's why my name's Wilson.
Hey,
it's actually 2 truths, 1 lie. I mean, it's a bit of a weird game if you put the truth in the middle, because you know the last one's got to be the lie by process of elimination.
We thought we could stump you. It's reverse psychology. Thanks so much for coming on the show this morning, Wil Anderson. Go check out his show, Wil Legitimate. We'll be live in the Garden of Unearthly Delights until Saturday, the 16th of March. Go get your tickets now, adelaidefringe.com.au. Wil, you've been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.